Be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
The way we eat has changed more in the last 50 years than in the previous 10,000. But the image that's used to sell the food, it is still the imagery of agrarian America. You go into the supermarket and you see pictures of farmers. The picket fence and the silo and the 30s farmhouse and the green grass. It's the spinning of this pastoral fantasy. The modern American supermarket has on average 47,000 products. There are no seasons in the American supermarket. Now there are tomatoes all year round, grown halfway around the world, picked when it was green, and ripened with ethylene gas. Although it looks like a tomato, it's kind of a notional tomato. I mean, it's the idea of a tomato. In the meat aisle, there are no bones anymore.
There is this deliberate veil, this curtain that's dropped between us and where our food is coming from. The industry doesn't want you to know the truth about what you're eating, because if you knew, you might not want to eat it.
If you follow the food chain back from those shrink-wrapped packages of meat, you find a very different reality. The reality is a factory. It's not a farm, it's a factory. That meat is being processed by huge multinational corporations that have very little to do with ranches and farmers.
Now our food is coming from enormous assembly lines where the animals and the workers are being abused. And the food has become much more dangerous in ways that are being deliberately hidden from us.
You've got a small group of multinational corporations who control the entire food system. From seed to the supermarket, they're gaining control of food.
This isn't just about what we're eating. This is about what we're allowed to say, what we're allowed to know. It's not just our health that's at risk.
The companies don't want farmers talking. They don't want this story told.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I'm Buddy Cunanan. On this show, we talk about everything under the sun: politics, business, sports, arts, and culture. But tonight, the show is about food and food security, and a very timely one at that. At the moment, folks, there is a raging controversy over genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. And while some people are calling it the scientific miracle to solve world hunger, others are saying that it's bad for our health and bad for the environment. Now, we will try to address the issues this evening and try to explain these to you with the help of two very good resource speakers. We have, of course, a return guest on Philippines Uncut, Mr. Hans Palacios, who is a natural health advocate. Good evening, Hans. Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. Yes. And we also are joined by Ms. Gigi Padilla-Chua, Grace Padilla-Chua, and she is the president of the Consumer Rights for Safe Food, another advocacy group. Good evening,
Good
Grace.
evening.
Welcome.
Good evening.
Okay. Now, let's talk about you guys first. Let's begin with Grace. What is this organization that you had, the consumer rights for safe food?
Safe food.
Yeah.
Yes, this started about 3 years ago. We listened to a talk on genetically modified organisms, and all the people, there were 10 of us, we were like appalled at what was happening to our food. So we decided to make a group and to inform others about what are GMOs all about. But eventually we got into other issues because we saw that there are so many other things that are unsafe in our food, and that we have to show the consumers what they are really eating and to empower them to make healthy choices.
Yes. Do you see now that there are, let's say, is this getting around in the Philippines, consumer awareness, consumer initiatives like this?
Unfortunately or sadly,
Yes.
our consumers are not really empowered. We are not organized, and maybe it's the lack of time or busy with our work. Not too many people want to spend time in organizations or learning about food, or even going to the supermarket and checking out labels.
Yes,
You
yeah.
just want to go in, buy your food, and serve it to your family.
I guess if people knew, as the video earlier
Yes.
showed us, if people knew what was going into their food and where their food was coming from, perhaps they'd pay more attention to what they buy in the
Yes.
supermarket.
So that's what we want to do, is to
Excellent.
show people that not everything that is advertised or told to you is what is.
Excellent, excellent. Hans, how about you? Let's refresh our viewers on who Hans Palacios is.
Yeah. Well, I'm a natural health advocate, so I've had opportunities to guest here before on issues like GMOs, vaccines, and at one point I think we did
Nuclear power.
nuclear power, yes,
Fukushima disaster.
Fukushima,
Yeah.
and also the Codex Alimentarius, I think.
Yes.
This is the World Trade Organization controlled on our supplements and all that, or what big pharmas hold on the world of food and supplements.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been discussing. We've been looking at GMOs for the past probably 3-4 years also, and also trying to create an awareness so that people know that they have to look out for what they're eating, and also they have to look at their environment. In our case, the Philippines, you know, we are living in very special times right now. Things happen around the world, Fukushima and all the things that are happening in the Middle East and all that. And in our part of the world, there's a lot of action as well happening, and then nobody notices it. And with regards to GMO, we're smack in the center of it. Smack in the center of it, to the point that an organization like Greenpeace is very involved with us here right now. We've had genetic experts come here to talk about the problems of introducing GMOs into our country, and the perils we face, especially if we allow them to just march in here without any regulation.
Okay. Now, Hans, what got you into this whole alternative natural health advocacy, alternative medicine? What got you into this?
Well, funnily enough, it was my state of health 8 or 9 years ago, when I began to deteriorate, and then I was walking around like an old man, and I decided that enough was enough. I have to do something about this already. And then I started to change my lifestyle, and then I started to, apart from changing, I started to study. The information was out there, and then I joined friends, not organization, but got along with friends. And then I went into the circuit, where you joined the natural health circuit. We were going to malls, and you stood for a certain product we talked about, and I met the doctors and natural health advocates, and then it became a family. And then basically that's where it started.
Now, okay, our show is about GMOs, and this is a term that is, for lay people, when you hear it, a lot of people, myself included, didn't really understand what this is all about before. Now, what exactly are GMOs, Gigi?
As they say, genetically modified organisms.
Okay.
So this is when in a laboratory, they get a gene from a certain species, like let's say a bacteria, get one gene or 2 or 3, and put it in another species, like let's say a corn, and they mix it together. They redesign the genetic makeup of the corn. So this new organism is not a corn,
It's not corn
nor
anymore.
is it a bacteria.
Yes.
So what is it? For all intents and purposes, if you look at the corn, it looks like a corn. But what is it really? Because there is a gene there that does not belong to the corn.
No, but you know
Now-
what they say,
yeah.
like if it looks like a duck, sounds like duck, walks like a duck, it is a duck. Like in this case,
Well-
it looks like corn, tastes like corn. When you cook it,
Yeah.
it sure is good. It tastes like corn, then it
Yes.
must be corn.
That's what the US FDA said.
Yes.
Genetically modified corn and corn, they're the same.
Yes.
So we don't need to test this. But that's where they are so wrong. You know that you, for example, and an ape share 98% of your genes. You're the same. Only 2% is different.
That's
And
right,
that
yeah.
is a very big difference
Yes.
between you and the ape,
It
right?
produced apes, and the 2% produced people like Mozart and
Yes.
Einstein, and you know all these geniuses.
So
Yeah,
this one gene, and
makes a world of a difference. You're
yeah.
saying. Okay.
So why, like for example, that gene from the bacteria gives this plant now the power to poison all the borers, the corn borers that eat it. So that is a significant change in its makeup, no, and in its properties.
Yes, yes. Now, are GMOs really bad for the health, Hans? I mean, what is the whole controversy about?
Well, the main controversy about GMOs is one is that there's not enough research or caution exercised before bringing the product out to the market. I mean,
Yeah.
sure enough, you know, they were saying that this would solve the hunger problems of the world, but there were a lot of side effects because of the different genes that were being put together. Number two, when you planted, you had to take care also of the pests that were there, and most of these GMOs, or especially the corn, they are pesticide resistant, herbicide resistant. So in a way, that plant carries the toxicity into the body as well. So what happened was that over the years, there were people who started to research and to find out what GMOs are all about, and they found out a lot about it. It wasn't good. It wasn't a fairy tale story. There were nightmares behind it. Rats in the labs were getting sick. They were getting smaller. They were altering. And
After, I mean, okay, these lab animals were getting sick after what? After being fed
Yes.
GM food.
Yeah, GMO food. And in the early days, and when the basic research started, let's take what happened in Scotland in 1998. A company was commissioned to do research on GMOs by a guy called Arpad Pusztai, and what happened was that he found the truth. It was very negative. Before they released the information, he was able to come out in a documentary talking about GMOs. It created immediately a backlash because the industry was taken, by surprise by this documentary. Now, that was the power of the media. It really shocked the world. And what happened was that they went against him. They discredited him. It's the same thing that happened in the vaccine industry and all that. So it opened up a can of worms. So others started to research. Others started to experiment with GMOs. And there are a lot of... You can GMO anything. You can...
Wait, okay. GMOs were created in a lab.
Yes.
By scientists, guys with PhDs and whatnot, right, in white lab coats. And so, in this case, shouldn't it be that, shouldn't it be safe to assume that GMOs are actually safe to eat and very well regulated, and I assume they went through some sort of scientific process to create it. So shouldn't this give us a reassurance that GMOs are safe?
Yes, as I said before, the FDA, the US FDA,
Yes.
ruled that GMO is equivalent to corn, GMO corn.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So no need for testing.
Okay.
Okay. These people...
Shouldn't it give us some assurance that the FDA, the US FDA, given that in the United States consumer groups are very powerful, they have a strong lobby there,
Yes.
the consumer is very empowered, Shouldn't it give us now some sort of reassurance that GMOs are okay?
It should, right? And especially being Filipinos, we always think that if the U.S. does it, we have to. I mean, if they allow it, who are we? They're more scientifically.
They're first world and all that, sure.
But there are a lot of literature saying that FDA officials and Monsanto officials are just revolving around each other. In other words, they come from FDA, then they get hired by Monsanto.
What is Monsanto?
Monsanto is one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, company who owns a lot of this patent GMO seeds.
So these different strains of GMOs?
Yes, they are a maker of GMOs. They used to be a chemical company. They are best known for Agent Orange.
Wow,
in
really?
Vietnam.
Oh, yes,
and they said
stuff.
It does not harm people. It will only harm the plants.
The grass and the foliage.
And
sure.
of course, we know that even up to now, the Vietnamese people suffer from this Agent Orange.
And U.S. Vietnam vets. I mean, a lot of
as well.
Sicknesses and all that.
So they're very powerful, and they lobby a lot. And up to now, there is no peer-reviewed scientific study that proves, long-term study that proves that GMOs are safe.
Now, Hans,
none.
Define that for our viewers. What does it mean? That is a loaded statement that came from Gigi. What does that mean? That there is no peer-reviewed, long-term scientific study pointing to the safety or danger.
No, safety.
Safety.
Saying that it's safe.
Of GMOs.
Well, you see, it's a big, long process. You want to get these products out. You want approval of the USDA. So what they do is, as she said, the head of the one GMO company suddenly becomes head of the USDA. The same as in the pharma industry, they started from a pharmaceutical company and then the head of the FDA. It's a revolving door policy. So what happens is the field, the testing or the guinea pigs are here. We are the ones.
Why are we not hearing a lot of people raising their hand and saying, hey, GMOs made me sick. GMOs caused my cancer.
Well, we do, actually. We
but
do.
It's really very hard to do that. No?
Okay.
There are a lot of different things in the environment that contribute to illnesses. But there are cases, like there was the Starlink corn, which is supposed to be fed only to animals, but for some reason, it found its way to tortilla chips.
Wow.
And it caused a lot of illnesses in the U.S. And when they traced back all these people who reported this extreme allergic reactions, they found that the common thing is they ate that tortilla chips.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's another one, the L-tryptophan. This is commonly used in sleeping pills.
Yes.
It's a naturally occurring nutrient. And suddenly, people who were taking this L-tryptophan were getting sick. Again, they traced it back to a company in Japan that somehow changed the process of making L-tryptophan, and they were using GMOs.
Yeah. Now, okay, let's talk about genetic engineering, because this is really what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Changing, you said, the genetic structure of something. But as you all know, this kind of modification in species happens in nature. I mean, this is exactly how evolution happened. Certain species with a certain gene that allowed them to survive were the ones that were left behind, and eventually that gene was replicated in their offspring. So how is this different exactly from the natural way of evolution or genetic mutation?
Well, I'll give you a good example right now. They're trying to make a super rice, super grain.
Among other things.
Yeah, and then this super grain has human genetic, from the liver, parts, it's incorporated in the grains of rice. So,
human rice.
Presumably for the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
But like what you were saying about the corn chips, that might spill out, into the market and people eat it, or more possibly, the farms that are making that type of rice, they can contaminate the organic farms beside it, because you know, when you have a big lab like whole farmlands, it's not impossible. It's a normal occurrence for it to spread in the environment, and then all of a sudden everything's GMO already.
So what you're saying is that as opposed to, let's say, what happens in nature.
Nature, yes.
What happens when something's GMO'd?
Yes.
It means that you get something. It's a cross species.
Cross species, yes.
So it could be, you know, I mean, whereas before, let's say it's all apes that evolved. In this sense, you take a gene or you take something from another species, let's say a cat, and you put in, let's say, an ape to produce another species.
Yes.
So in nature, you will never hear of a corn mating with a bacteria.
Of course, of course.
So it's really unnatural. But there is also a GMO where they put one gene from the other of the same species.
Yeah.
And it's we're still against this because the process by which it is done still does not happen in nature. It's really a very high-tech lab that can do this.
Yes.
It never happened in nature.
But what's wrong with this? If the food is edible, and it, you know, I mean, if I were to see a GMO, let's say a GMO piece of corn or corn cob, in let's say in the supermarket, and I cooked it, tasted it, smelled good, tasted good, how can this now be harmful for my health?
If they allow long-term testing and they really see that it's safe, I would be for it.
Yes, that's right.
So what you guys are saying is just exercise caution, go slowly, and make sure it's safe before you release it in the market.
Yeah, you can't. Recently, here in the Philippines, the Greenpeace with some ex-senators, ex-politicians, and concerned citizens filed with the Supreme Court to stop experimentation here in this country of the BT eggplants and all the other things that go along with it. They imposed a file for a writ of kalikasan, and I think that was the right move to do. Why should we be the first one? I mean, everybody's shunning them. Even France has already kicked out BT corn, and all the other 6 other countries in Europe, countries in South America, they're
turning away from GMOs. You're
turning
saying.
away because
I think on wholesale, they're turning away from GMO wholesale, not
wholesale,
just certain GMO foods.
150,000 plus Indian farmers commit suicide, have committed suicide in the last 10 years because what was touted or put before them regarding GMOs wasn't the truth. It was harmful. It killed the land.
Wow.
The process of growing GMOs involved pesticides, herbicides, which poison the land, and which ties them down, makes them prisoners now because nothing else would grow.
Except for the GMO crops.
Which were provided by one seed company, i.e. Monsanto.
My God.
See? So when they saw all these Bollywood actors advertising the corn and the herbicide, you know, they went for it, and then all of a sudden, after 2-3 years, the crops started to fail. The animals were affected. They were affected. Nothing else would grow. They started to get bankrupt. It's the same in the United States. And then nowhere to go, so they killed themselves. That's what was happening in India. Very recently, because of they realized, the GMO companies realized that they have to step up the PR game. They employed the services of, I heard, Bono of U2. Is now going to be the poster boy for
Monsanto.
For Monsanto. I mean, that's what's going on right now. I mean, it's in the alternative news wires. They're talking about it. So here in the Philippines, this is very scary for us. I mean, we're out here. We depend a lot on food security, which hopefully we'll be able to attain for ourselves. And then we face the prospect of BTO rice, GMO rice, eggplants, tomatoes, you name it. They're going to be experimenting with it here. It's not even accepted outside. It hasn't been proven safe. Why should we be the guinea pigs? That's what we're saying. I'm just happy that moves are being made to at least protect us or buy us time to make the market aware, make the people aware, and then let somebody tell us it's safe first. You know, and then let the scientists. A couple of days ago, a report made out of London from 3 genetic engineers. It's an open source thing. You can get it in the internet. It's a 123-page report on GMOs. The and the myths around it. You can get it in the internet. I'm sure a lot of people are reading as soon as it came out. You have a copy, you have a copy. I mean, because
It's all
people,
there. It's available.
people who know,
Yeah.
because this was studied. You're looking for the facts that they're saying that we don't have, they're there now. You're talking about genetic engineers telling us this is bad news. We don't like our farmers going to be prisoners, going to be guilty of poisoning our people, our children. Imagine our children growing up sickly, without any nutrition, our children having birth defects, our animals, our environment being unreceptive to natural farming, and we being a prisoner to big corporations outside who hold, a dagger over our head,
Can you feel the pressure of Monsanto here?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The PR game is something, it's quiet, but you feel it. You can really feel it.
And that's the thing. This is such a big issue, but yet it's amazing. So few people actually are aware of it. I mean, it's a major issue. It's a worldwide issue, but like here in the Philippines, you come across and, you talk about this and not many people, you'd be surprised how many people know about this. I mean, why is that from the consumer group point of view?
It's not very relevant, I think. Like you talk about GMOs, what is that? And I don't see that in the supermarket. There's nothing there that's labeled GMO. It's something high up, so not many people are involved with it. Pressure, maybe not only Monsanto, but even from the US government, maybe. That all applications in the Philippines to test GMOs are all approved.
Wow.
And then the Philippine government does not do any tests to prove them. They rely on the tests that the company itself is selling GMOs.
Really?
The test, that's
Yes.
what they use.
Okay. So there's no testing when they get here. Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
For example, say, hey, I have this
From the FDA.
and we
you have to
tested
approve-
this in our laboratories here. And
in the States, and it's brought to the Philippines, and what do we Filipinos do? We just
okay, you tested
welcome
it.
them with open arms.
Good, okay, good. You've tested now in the Philippines. And also, these tests are secret.
Yeah.
You cannot do peer testing because they're secret.
Yeah. Well, did you hold that thought? We have to pause for a break, but very exciting stuff. Guys, don't go away because more of GMO and the state of GMOs in the Philippines when Philippines Uncut comes back. Stay tuned.